Thank you so much for attending this session. We're very happy to have you here this afternoon. This is the event for Automotive Technology Information Session, for the information session. And so we have a little agenda today. My name is Sarah Williams, and I am part of admissions and outreach. I'm a coordinator there. So I work with high schools and students to help them get admitted, apply and get admitted, and kind of help them navigate their first steps at Macomb. We are also going to have Ben Cruz, who's director for the Center of Advanced Automotive Technology at Macomb Community College, who will be doing an overview of our Vehicle Engineering Technician program, or VET program. And then we also have two speakers from Roush Enterprises that are going to talk about some of their opportunities that they have. And that's Amanda Alanouf, Director of Workforce. And we also have Paul Bowser, Director of Garage Service Operations. And then at the very end, we're going to have a question and answer session. So if you do have questions, we're going to ask them, you can post them in that chat. We will post those questions at the end of the session and then answer them as well. So please keep those questions coming in the chat. If you do have a specific question, though, I know sometimes students will get specific questions, you can definitely chat like me. So on the option for chat, if you click down, there's an everyone option, but then you can click someone specific. So if you have like a very specific question about your account, I know sometimes students come in here and they do have a question about their account, you can directly message me and I can take a look at that and try to answer that, or reach out to you by email if we don't have time during the session. So just keep that in mind. You might not, if it's a personal question, you might not want to throw it out to everyone. If it's a general question about the session though, absolutely send it out to everyone so we can all see it. And I'm going to hand it over to Ben now to get started.
Thank you. Okay, as I was introduced, my name is Ben Cruz. I'm the director for the Center of Advanced Automotive Technology here at Macomb. And I just wanted to say a couple little things about me. I actually spent my entire career at General Motors. I spent all of my career at General Motors in product development. So I was test, design, validation. And towards the end of my career there, right before I retired, I was actually running some laboratories there. And I had a need for a lot of technicians. And that's where I first started noticing that we have a critical shortage of skilled technicians that can do that kind of work, for OEMs, for suppliers. So when I joined Macomb, that's one of the things that I wanted to get done. I wanted to start preparing technicians to be able to take some of these jobs and responsibilities that some of the OEMs and suppliers have. Now, obviously, with the changes in the auto industry, there's a lot of things that are changing technologically. The emergence of autonomous vehicles, electric vehicles, are having a significant impact on the automotive industry. And obviously, that's to the trends of connectivity, autonomous and automated driving, mobility as a service, drivetrain electrification, and high-performance computing. And yes, I did say high-performance computing because there are a lot of ECUs, a central computer, that now require, quite a bit of software and quite a bit of programming, for some of these vehicles. I wanted to show you a little slide that was produced by Sarah Crane out of University of Michigan. And her title was Connected and Automated Vehicles, and I put the EV in there. And the reason for the EV in there is because that's one of the things that's also driving a lot of the change in the auto industry, a lot of the change in the skills that are required for the new jobs. And if you take a look at each one of these little silos, you can see that the skill set, the general skill set, has been changing all along. If you go way beyond 1990, the vehicles were strictly mechanical. And then came in electrical, for, lights and some other little things that were analog, just switches you switch on and off. But as we approached the 2000s, and we got into digital electronics, the whole world changed. And all kinds of electrical systems, all kinds of electronics came into the vehicles at that point. And then that's when software became pretty big, trying to control, a lot of the ECUs, a lot of the ECMs and other controllers. And mechanical started downsizing. And that's going to be the continuing trend between here and 2035. There will be more electrical, more electronics, and more software. So in essence, vehicles are becoming an electromechanical devices controlled by computers with embedded software. You have to know about power electronics, high voltage batteries, power conversion, electric motors, electrification of powertrains and controls. And you also have to learn something about advanced driver assist systems. That includes LiDAR, radar, and multitude of cameras. You also have to learn about the connected vehicle. And when we talk about connected vehicle, we're talking about a vehicle that can connect to other phones, other vehicles, cell towers, the cloud for computing and access of data, and all sorts of things that just simply were not around in prior years. And so you have to know about that, the connected vehicle communication systems. And obviously you have to know about computers and software, because computers and software now control all of the vehicle systems, including the new vehicle to everything in the environment and their ecosystems. Here in Macomb, we still have the Automotive Service Technician program, which is basically a program where we train technicians to be able to get jobs at dealerships and also get jobs at independent shops. And that particular skill set is not going away. You do have to enhance it with electronics, software, and troubleshooting skills. But internal combustion engines will be around for at least another 20 years. I know that a lot of the OEMs have signed up for saying that the EV is coming and starting in 2025. A lot of the OEMs will stop manufacturing internal combustion engines. However, some of the current vehicles are still going to be here for a long time, and other OEMs are still going to be making some of those vehicles. So there still will be a need for the service technician at dealerships and auto shops. But there's also a great need right now for another type of technician, and this is the engineering technician that's currently working at OEM laboratories, OEM proving grounds, OEM or supplier test houses, suppliers of service to the different OEMs. And these people are the ones that have to have, a whole new set of skills. These are enhanced electronics, additional software, learning how to do laboratory type testing, and a whole bunch of other stuff that comes along with it. So that's the program that I want to talk a little bit more about. And this is basically what the program looks like. And you'll notice that it's not your typical service technician program. Yes, you do learn about vehicles, because that's the industry we're in, but you also learn a lot about electronics, digital electronics, and then you've got about IT. You've got principles of networking. You've got physics. You've got LabVIEW, which basically teaches you about data acquisition, doing design of experiments, doing test setups, that kind of thing. You've got intro programming, design and development. That's also an IT type activity. And then you've got embedded C programming. A lot of the vehicles that are currently out there or are going to be out there, have a lot of systems, a lot of ECUs that control automated systems ECUs, and they are all embedded programming. So that's one of the things that we're teaching here. We still need, obviously, there is always the need to read blueprints, especially if you're building prototypes or working with prototypes or building fixtures, for doing tests and experiments. And of course, you also need the Gen Ed classes. So I do have several of the Gen Ed classes still in there. And then the ones that you see in kind of a brownish color, those are classes that didn't exist anywhere for automotive in a junior college setting. So we put those classes together along with assistants from Kettering University and other universities, and also Continental. Continental was instrumental in helping us, do the strawmans and the summaries for embedded C programming, for example, and they helped us with the cybersecurity course. And we also have a connected automated intelligent vehicle class, and finally the vehicle experimental test. So as you can see, the program is a little bit different than your typical service technician program, but that's because you're going to be doing strictly a different or completely a different new job. At the facility where I worked at General Motors, I had a few engineers, but I had a whole bunch of technicians also, and something like a 3-to-1 ratio, and those technicians were really the backbone of the engineers. They support their engineers in doing just about anything that has to be done in validation, development, testing. So that's what we're looking at in this particular program. The reason that I wanted to invite Roush is because they're one of our newer partners, and they do a lot of the work that we're talking about here, or that I just talked about here. So I wanted them to give you a little summary of what it is they do, what a technician does in their area, and the activity that they run in their facility. So with that, I don't know if it's Amanda or Paul that's going to talk first, but I'd like to pass that on.
Good afternoon. My name is Amanda Allenoff. I am the Workforce Director for Prototype. Next slide, please. First off, most people, when you think of Roush, what do people think of? They think of, Roush Mustangs. That's a huge part of Roush. Also, if you go to the next slide, a lot of times people will think of Roush Racing, Jack Roush. Those are the faces of Roush because they have the Roush name. But actually, most of us are behind the scenes. We're an engineering supplier. So we're doing work for a lot of different customers, but our name's never attached to it. So within Roush Industries, we have different groups. We have our engineering and design group. Just like it sounds, there's a lot of engineers, designers. We have our testing division. So if you've ever seen those prototype vehicles being driven around in caravans, a lot of times camouflaged, a lot of times that's testing. And then our group is prototype. So Paul and myself are from the prototype side. So what our group is, it's a lot of automotive technicians, a lot of instrumentation, fabricators, a lot of the skilled trades. So I have been with Roush for about 13 years, and the entire 13 years, similar to what Ben said, is we've needed automotive technicians. And we worked really hard the last 13 years to try to get as many as we could to grow. Just that's really what we need to do. Through that, we've created a lot of different programs just internally on our own. We created toolbox programs. We created, Paul now heads up a lot of internal electrification training. So we've done so many things as an employer to help get the skill set that we really need for the new work that we're working with. Paul's going to go through the work and more of the specifics, but that's why we really jumped in and we're excited to work with Ben and Macomb, because this program is actually teaching towards the future versus just teaching a lot of what people are working with now. So we're really excited to partner up with that. And hopefully this will kind of help us as well too. Next slide, please. So just to go into a little bit more information around Roush as a whole, we basically are working with technology and engineering, and really we're the creative piece of it, right? So a lot of what we're doing is innovative. It's an idea, maybe from a paper napkin idea all the way through. So our company is always working with the new technology, where a couple years from now it could come out and you could say, yep, I saw that. Or a couple years from now it goes away, never sees the light of day, and Paul's like, whew. So it's a very interesting work environment. We'll just say that. Next slide, please. Again, we talked a little bit about engineering, testing, development, prototyping, and manufacturing. That is it. We do work in automotive, military, defense, entertainment rides, aerospace. So we work in a lot of different industries with a lot of different customers. Our main locations in Michigan are in Livonia and Allen Park, but we do have facilities in Warren and other areas as well too. So we're a little bit further away from you guys here. But again, we were so excited about this program that we wanted to still make sure that we could still work, and hopefully that 30-minute drive's not too far for folks if they're coming from the east side. Next slide, please.
Oops, sorry. For some reason it froze. It's not progressing.
The next slide is really here. It's really talking about, so again, we we are hiring people. We're hiring technicians, and we're hiring, working with Macomb to hopefully have internships as well. So that way you're getting that hands-on experience. College and all of that is fantastic. It's great. It gives you great foundation, but also getting the chance to do hands-on, and instead of just, you know, seeing an alignment rack and running it a couple times, getting to work in one of our shops and get that real world experience, right? So this is just kind of a standard template that we're looking for in automotive tech or internship, but really we're looking for people that have that right attitude and people that are flexible. In our environment, things are changing very quickly. So we're looking for people that are willing to dig in, learn, grow, and understand that things might change and that they have to be flexible with it as well. All of our jobs are going to be on Roush.com. That's where all of our careers are. And so this is just kind of giving you an example of some of what we're looking for in terms of just technicians and specifically. And then if we can go to next slide. I think this is where I can hand it off to Mr. Paul Bowser, our resident technical expert, and he can give you more of the nitty-gritty of what Roush really does. So thanks.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Paul Bowser, Director of Garage Service Operations in Allen Park and several other locations. I've been with Roush for 27 years. Starting as a technician on the shop floor and afternoon shift, and working my way through multiple levels of management to now director's position. As part of bridging the gap, this is the concept of someone comes up with an idea, and whether that idea comes through a 2D sketch or a 3D CAD model or any other means, we work toward turning that concept into something that's tangible, something that can be operated, tested, and validated, put into pictures, presented to the public. Next slide, Ben. So some of those projects are going to be in autonomy. So this project that you see on the screen is actually in operation downtown Ann Arbor, and it's a delivery bot. And what this unit does is it goes from a restaurant to a homeowner's residence, and the homeowner would have a code when this bot arrives in their driveway, and that code would open a hatch on the side of the vehicle that will have whatever they've ordered, whether that's a sandwich or a full meal, or could be anything. But this came to us as a experiment from U of M, and we helped them bring this bot to market. So there are several of these in operation in Ann Arbor, and this takes the technologies of automotive, has been alluded to, IT and networking, because there's a lot of data that needs to be processed. Decisions are made based on that data, and that allows the bot to move. Next slide. So other things that we do within Roush is enable innovative products. And some of the products that you'll see in this next slide is the top left is a fully autonomous Class 8 tractor trailer. This unit, once on a freeway, can be programmed to run from point A to point B, and it has all of the advanced driver assist systems in play that keep a modern 2021 vehicle in its lane, avoiding crash, avoiding leaving a lane, and basically navigating itself through GPS coordinates from one point to another. The top right, this is a farm implement that is autonomous, and it drives autonomously through a farm field with cameras that identify foreign plants. So if it drives through a cornfield, it knows what a corn plant looks like, and it does a comparison through data and software that will extract any plant that does not look like corn. So if it sees any kind of a weed in the field, it reaches down and plucks that weed up and leaves that weed in a hopper that goes along with the vehicle as it leaves the field. The next on the bottom left, that's PolySync. This is an autonomous vehicle operation that's going on local here to Dearborn. And these vehicles are moving about in a level 4 autonomy, which is not necessarily driverless, but it has an operations driver or a safety driver behind the wheel. And the one on the right is another different type of autonomous vehicle that is a level 4 now, but intends to be a level 5. And a level 5 autonomous vehicle would have no steering wheel, have no brake pedal, have no throttle, have no gear shifter. It fully operates on its own without any human interference. Next slide. So building exciting vehicles. Amanda alluded to the Roush Performance brand, which is the Mustang, the F-150, basically our hot rod product line, where we take a base level vehicle and we modify that with forced induction, with wheels, tire packages, basically suspension and powertrain performance packages. So we'll go ahead to the next slide, Ben. So that the F-150 and the Mustang that are below are modified units that we basically bring in a vehicle directly from an assembly plant, and we remove some of the basic parts that are installed by the OEM, and we'll replace those with high performance parts. So for example, the Mustang on the bottom, this is a Jack Roush Edition jackhammer vehicle. So this vehicle comes from Ford with roughly 400 horsepower. And when we finish with our updates and performance improvement parts, it leaves our shop with roughly 760 horsepower. So nearly double. The vehicle on the top left is a Dagger. This is a joint venture between Roush and Polaris, the same company that makes snowmobiles and jet skis. This is a joint venture that is enabling Special Operations Command of the U.S. Army and Marines to send vehicles and soldiers into combat in a rapid and easily inserted style. So this vehicle can be dropped from a helicopter or an airplane, and we can carry 9 soldiers and all of their equipment into a combat zone. And the vehicle is manufactured cheaply enough that if it can't be extracted, they'll just leave the vehicle where it sits and extract the soldiers on their own. Next slide. So developing the future. We've all alluded to what does the future look like. It's going to be electrified. It's going to be autonomous. And those two terms encompass a lot of new equipment and new technologies that have never previously been in an automobile. Go ahead to the next slide. So working through that future development, we had very few cameras in a vehicle in past model years. But as we move into 2022, 2023 and beyond, the number of cameras will continue to increase in vehicles. So that requires additional data capability and data capturing capability. So that basically installs an IT network in the vehicle. So we have network switches, we have multiple channels, we have multiple frequencies that things are operating on. And in addition to those IT networks, there is so much data that needs to be transferred that we're beginning to use fiber optics in these vehicles because fiber optics can transfer data at the speed of light rather than the speed of electrons. So the bottom right corner there is the Ford F-150 electrified vehicle. There is no gas engine, there is no diesel engine. This is merely an electric motor and a set of batteries. And if you look this up on Google, you can go look at the performance of this vehicle pulling train cars that are loaded with additional F-150s, pulling over 1 million pounds with an electric motor. And then on the bottom left-hand side of your screen, you see a bundle of yellow wire. So this is instrumentation. Instrumentation is part of the development process in that as engineers come up with ideas and we integrate powertrains or engines and transmissions and electric motors into vehicles for the first time, we need to know what the temperatures those objects or those parts operate at to ensure that the environment around them survives the heat that they're going to put off. So we need to validate that the plastics that are in the area can withstand the temperatures that an exhaust system is going to emit. We use pressure transducers and accelerometers and different things to measure their performance and the capability of the components that we install. The top right photo is a picture of one of our shops. So when you think automotive industry and you think automotive repair shop, you might be thinking of greasy, grimy floors, dirty parts all over the place, rusted vehicles and things like that. But that's could be no further from the truth of what Roush is doing. All of our walls are painted gray and white. Our floors are clean and painted light gray, as you've seen in the photo. And the shops are very well organized. All the vehicles are very new, and the highest mileage you may see on a prototype development unit might be about 10,000 miles. And very rarely do you find a fastener that's so rust that you can't remove it. Everything's fairly clean and fairly easy to work on. Next slide. So how do you get started as an employee for Roush or any other industry employer? Employees must pass a drug screen. There's no way around that. We're going to send you for your analysis and other drug test potentials to verify that you're not using any drugs and that you're going to be a clean employee for us. Employees should be prompt and consistent, showing up on time and fulfilling the promises that you make within the work environment. Be professional. Part of being professional is dressing properly, arriving and communicating properly, paying attention, and people are speaking with you. I know cell phones are one of those things that's a huge distraction in today's society. And being able to put that cell phone aside and pay attention to someone that's speaking to you without being distracted by incoming texts and outgoing communications is a huge plus for an employee coming in. And then being courteous. If you're spoken to, respond with a proper answer, a professional answer. Be honest and willing to admit when you're wrong. We understand that everybody that comes through our door doesn't know everything about the vehicles that we're working on. And to be honest, a lot of the folks here that work for us already don't know everything there is to know about the vehicles we work on. Being honest and admitting that you don't know something is better than making a mistake. Be energetic. Come in ready to work. Being on time to work is not coming in at the start time, it's coming in prior to the start time. And being ready to work at the start time when it arrives. Having a good work ethic is part of being a good employee all around. Good work ethic means that you're not standing in front of the time clock waiting for quitting time to pop up on the clock. You're finishing up your work day, you're taking care of your work area, making sure things are clean and put away. And then being willing to ask questions. We know that there are questions in everyone's heads, and there are probably questions within the group now that are going to require answers, and you'd appreciate if Amanda or I answered those questions. So we appreciate the same thing. If there's a question that we need to answer for you, you should expect an answer from us. And then be willing to learn. Beyond school, there are a lot of things to learn within industry. Going to college and to whatever secondary education you choose to pursue, whether that be on the job or in a classroom, all of that learning is important. And as part of that learning, going through school, you're going to learn the theory of application of those technologies. But once you get to industry, you have to apply those theories and apply those pieces of knowledge that you've gained to make them operational. Go ahead to the next slide, Ben. And then investments. Part of getting started in the automotive industry and truly any service industry is going to require some kind of an investment, and it's not just monetary. When you're entering the job market, you got to be prepared to make those investments, and part of that is going to span your entire career, whatever that career looks like, whether it's 10 years or 40 years. You're going to invest yourself, which means giving your best effort in everything you do, from arriving to work on time to finishing your workday and cleaning up your work area, your toolbox. And, you know, this is like kind of an example I like to use. If you were going to get your vehicle serviced and have an oil change done, wouldn't it be nice if your vehicle came out of that shop cleaner than it went in? Just a simple, quick wash down of a vehicle after an oil change makes a huge impact with the customer. Sometimes it may be monetary for professionalism and appearance and preparedness, and making sure that when you come into work, your clothes are clean, your boots are laced up, clean, tidy, and tied. Other times it'll be investing yourself in education, using your own energy and time to go get educated on the new technologies that are coming into market. And then last is dedication is an investment as well over time, looking to gain that experience. A lot of new folks to industry believe that it's necessary to job hop and to spend a couple of years with one job and then immediately start looking for the next opportunity that you're going to leave that employer for to go to the next. What you'll find is if you make an investment in an employer, they will return that investment to you, and they will make an investment in you and offer other levels of experience, investing in you for training, whether internal or external, and then invest in yourself consistently. It provides an honest day of work, and it will end in your success as an industry participant and building a career around what you enjoy doing. Next slide. Any questions for Amanda or myself from Roush?
There are questions in the chat.
Yeah, sorry. I was just going to say, we just got one question that came in. What locations is Roush hiring interns at?
Amanda, you want to take that one?
Yes, right now we have open positions in our Allen Park location. And if Livonia was a location that was easier, we could have spots in Livonia as well. Those are our two main locations where we could take summer interns or folks right now. We do have Warren and Auburn Hills, those locations, but those are more with testing, so they don't really usually have a lot of technician roles.
Thank you. We got another question too. Can you talk more about internships? Are they paid? And how long does an internship last?
Yes, they are paid. For us, we would work through, I don't know, Ben, if we would work directly through your school to do something different to qualify for an internship. But for us, an intern is paid, and it's not necessarily a set period of time. We're willing to work with the people as long as that they're able to work with us. But usually it's at least a couple of months, you know, a summer, a semester, if not longer.
Thank you. And another one is, does Roush hire a lot of Macomb students or graduates?
Not yet.
I can suggest that we have a few, but we haven't pursued in droves to this point.
And then another question about the internship. Is the internship part of the requirements through Macomb? Does Macomb help with the placement? Okay, so I think that might be a question for Ben as well.
Okay, one of our intents is, in fact, to help with placement if it's necessary. You know, obviously they can also independently look around and see what they can find, but we certainly would help them find an internship somewhere.
Okay, great. And is the internship a part of a requirement through Macomb's degree?
It is not. You do not have to do an internship to finish a technology degree.
Great, thank you. All right. So we did have a couple other questions too. These look like they were a little bit more about, so one is, what is the salary range or pay for a vehicle tech position?
You know, that's going to vary a whole lot depending on what company they work for and what it is they're going to do, what experience, what background they have. So it varies a whole lot. So I wouldn't want to put a number on that, but I know that when I worked for General Motors, the range was quite broad and quite high actually. So it really depends. It's hard to answer.
Okay. And we have another question. It looks like, does Roush typically hire permanent employees through their internship pipeline?
That is absolutely the goal. Absolutely. So that's kind of why we've been working with Ben in this program is we would like to do that. And we have a lot of long-term and permanent spots. So that would definitely be a great way to get some experience and then be able to stay with the company.
Great.
May I add something to that?
I would add to that we're pretty excited to work with a student and with a college to help them get through their education, adapting work schedules if necessary, and working along with that school to make sure that person can attend their classes when necessary and also work a full-time position with us.
Thank you, Paul. I was going to say something like that. So that's good.
Great. Thank you. And another question, how long does it take to finish the automotive technology program at Macomb, and can I go part-time?
The answer is yes. If you go part-time, you obviously take a long time. The program is actually designed for 4 semesters. But obviously if you can't do 4 straight semesters or full-time semesters, there is part-time, just takes you longer.
Thank you. So it's typically a 2-year program. You'll finish
Correct.
in about 2 years, but if you go part-time, it will be longer than that because you have more classes to finish throughout more semesters.
Correct.
Great, thank you. Okay, another question is, when would you suggest signing up for an internship? Like at what time in my education would be the best time to do that?
If allowed, I would sign up almost immediately as you start your education. And I say that based on experience. I don't know if you noticed that Paul said that he started as a technician. Believe it or not, I started as a technician also at General Motors. Fresh out of high school, I did an internship with GM at one of their facilities and stayed the rest of my life, progressing all the way to senior engineering group manager. So, it's whatever you want is possible if you really want it.
Yeah. If you know that that's something you're interested in, then you want to start
Yes.
right away. If you're still in high school, we do have options for high school students to start taking college classes at Macomb. We call it dual enrollment or early admissions. And it's a way where you can complement some of your high school required credits by taking them in college or at Macomb. Sometimes the school will pay for them. If it's dual enrollment and those credits are coming back to the school will pay for them. Usually the requirement is that the school does not offer a class, the same class at their high school level. There's also the self-pay option though too. So if your school is not willing to pay for your classes, or maybe your school offers the class, but it's not the college level that you need, you can pay for them out of pocket yourself, but still take them while you're in high school. So if you wanted to get started early, I don't know if you've already graduated high school or not, but if you wanted to get started early while you're in high school, you can do that and take some of those classes, get them out of the way. But you do want to talk to your high school counselor first about that to find out if you're eligible to be a dual enrolled student, so you can get that class paid for. And then also you want to make sure that the class isn't going to conflict with your high school schedule too. So you want to make sure that the class that you're going to be taking will be available for you after hours. Usually some schools will allow you to take them during their high school hours, but most of the time they're going to recommend that you take them outside of those high school hours, especially if it's self-pay. If it's self-pay, they won't let you take them during regular high school hours. Another question was, do I have to start classes in the fall? Is the schedule offered classes effective by when I start? So, okay, do they have to start in fall? Like, is there a sequence that it'll start, and do the classes they have to take in the fall only begin in the fall? Or could I start in winter instead? Will I have the classes I need available?
Well, the answer is yes, you could start either semester. It's better to start in the fall because there is a sequence of classes that you've got to take, and each one of them builds on the other. When you start in the middle of the year or December, January, then you're actually out of sequence. You can go in and take some classes, but sometimes you may not be able to take them because they're not offered at a particular time. So it's better in the fall. It's doable, in the winter.
Great. Another question too, can you talk more about starting as a vehicle technician and then what other opportunities for advancement that might lead to? Do you have people start with an associate and then get a bachelor's degree?
I can take that one. So starting as a vehicle tech and advancing, we've got, Amanda and I have just literally finished a three-legged plan for any new employee that comes in through our door, and that leads to a level of technical capability and application, which would be one line of advancement. And the second line of advancement would be a direct from a technology position as a mechanic or a technician through leadership. As you gain experience, you might lead a small team of other technicians that are less experienced. And the third might be as you gain experience in industry and understand what the requirements of our customers are, you could take on a planning style of pathway, which would lead you into a job title we call coordination. So it's basically a liaison between our technicians in the shop and the customers and their needs. So you're basically interpreting what the customer needs and then directing the techs on our shop floors. And each one of those legs has several levels of advancement above it, each one in its own right. The technical runs through industry specialist, and it could be in a wide variety of things, or it could be a very narrow variety of things. And then the second in leadership is from technician, learning what the requirements of the job are and then leading people in accomplishing those tasks. And do we have people that start with an associate's? I've had people start with no college under their belt, and I've had 3 people graduate with bachelor's degrees in the last 10 years. And we've worked with all 3 of those people. They started here as technicians and fabricators or metal workers, and they are now all 3 engineers. I also saw one other question that popped up, Sarah, that I could touch on a little bit, and it was around PC board repair and rework. So someone asked that previously a couple of questions ago.
I didn't see that one. I'm so sorry. I'm not seeing that one, but go ahead.
Yeah, I would suggest.
Can you ask the full question and then answer? Because I just don't see it. Maybe they specifically asked you the question.
Well, it's Joe Meza. As far as MCC classes, I do not see any focus on the rework skills for PC boards. Is this something that will be considered? So I would suggest that most colleges do not offer classes in PC board rework. They offer classes in PC board design, assembly, troubleshooting, and diagnostics, but a lot do not push for rework skills. That's really industry driven, and it's based on what type of industry you're in, and it's an international standard called IPC if you're interested in looking into that. But the standards are IPC 7711 and 7722. And if you look into those, they are international standards that define how rework is to be done, and they're offered by industry-driven training centers.
Great, thank you. And thank you for catching that question too. Do we have any more questions that are coming in? So far, I think that was the last new question. Oh, we do have another question. Can I become ASE certified with this program?
That's a good question, and the answer is no. To be an ASE certified technician, you basically have to follow the program for a dealership type technician. One that's going to work for a dealership at one of the OEMs. They have specific requirements for rebuilding transmissions, rebuilding engines, and doing those kind of things. Our technicians aren't really going to do that. Most of the laboratory technicians that I've been associated with, the labs that I've been associated with, that's not their function. Their function is more, testing, data analysis, data gathering, fabrication, all kinds of things like that, but not necessarily building engines. Now, I suppose that if you're in the performance division of Roush, you might be able to do that. I don't know, but in the laboratories that I'm acquainted with and I've worked with, We did not. So this program does not do that. If you have an interest in doing, an ASE program, then you do have to follow the ASAP program that we have here in Macomb, which we do have a program like that. And if you still have an interest in being broader educated and being able to do the other activity that we do as an engineering technician, you can also certainly take those classes.
I
Thank
would
you.
expand on that just a little bit to say that the ASE program is a dual path. It's education and being able to pass an examination.
Correct.
And it also has an experience leg. So you can pass the examination, but if you do not have the industry experience, you don't get your credential until you get an employer to sign off on that level of experience, which is typically 2 years in any given sector of the ASE system, which is tests A1 through A9.
All right, thank you. And then we got another question. When is the deadline for registration and enrollment? So I can answer this one actually. So we don't really have a deadline where like you're going to be cut off from being able to register or apply to Macomb, but we do have like a suggested time to apply and register for classes. So really right now at this point, registration for the fall semester, if you're planning on coming this fall 2021, that semester will begin in August. We do want you to apply as soon as you can and then complete your admission steps. So anyone who applies to Macomb, they're going to have some admission steps that they need to complete. And they're going to be traditional steps. Like one of them is going to be an orientation that you're going to read through. It's going to give you more information about Macomb in general. It takes about 30 minutes. And then after that, you're going to talk to an advisor or a counselor for the starting at Macomb session. So this is really just to figure out where you are with your, like maybe you recently graduated high school, maybe you took some college classes at another college. So they're going to figure out where you're at and then determine if you need to take a placement test or not in that session. So that you might not need to take the test, you might need to take the test. If you don't need to take the test, they're going to go right into the course planning session and help you pick out your classes. This is going to be a great time to let the advisor or counselor that you're talking to know what program you're interested in so that they can give you the right classes to take for the program you're going into. If you're undecided, so I know we have some students here who are probably interested in going into some of our automotive programs, but if you're undecided, maybe you're not sure, maybe automotive is an area that you're interested in, but you don't know for sure, you can absolutely tell them and they can give you some suggestions to start with to help you kind of figure out your path. So the classes you're taking are going to help you realize, like, is this the route I want to go or not? So, and then that way you can kind of know, hopefully by like the second semester, you'll know your program plan for sure if you're undecided at this point. So we do recommend if you haven't applied yet, you want to apply. If you've applied, but you're like, I don't know what to do next, log back into that admission account you created when you applied and check your admission steps. See what's the next step on there. If you have questions about how to get into your admission account or view your admission steps, you can absolutely call us in admissions and outreach. I will post our phone number in the chat so you can grab that, but it's our main number, 586-445-7999, and you'll select option 4 and then option 1 for admissions and outreach. And we can help get you either to the application or to where your admission steps are. And if you haven't applied yet, the easiest way to get to it is go to macomb.edu, click apply at the top, and then click new to Macomb on that next page. And then we did get another question while I was answering that one. Are there other Zoom sessions for other skilled trade sessions at Macomb?
There are. We're not. I don't know when they're scheduled, but there will be some. We from the CAT office will generally do a couple of different things. One of them has to do with manufacturing. We have a manufacturing program, and then we have this auto program. So those are the ones that I'm involved with. But other colleges or other divisions of the college here do different ones at different times.
And then we do have some previously recorded events too that you can find on our YouTube page as well. The link was just posted in the chat too, so you can find it there. It's got a quick little playlist with some other really great videos that you can view that help you learn a little bit more about Macomb in general, as well as some of the programs that we offer. And then it'll also have some in the skilled trades area too, some videos about the skilled trades area as well. All right, and I don't see any other questions coming in. I hope I'm not missing any. If anyone saw a question in there that I missed, like that last one, let me know, because I don't want to miss any questions. It looks like we covered them all. So I'm going to post real quick in the chat our phone number for admissions if you need help applying or completing your admission steps. This is going to be to admissions and outreach. Ben, I don't know if you want to post contact information for your area in the chat too.
Yes, I do. Let me write something here. And that's Cruz B800 at macomb.edu. And obviously my name is Ben Cruz, and I'm the director of the Center for Advanced Automotive Technology. And you know, so the two programs that we've got is the Vehicle Engineering Technician program that we're promoting now, and another one's called the it's called a manufacturing program that we put together for well, I was going to say Chrysler, but there's Stellantis now. So that's another program that we do, where we also hire internships and apprenticeships.
Thank you. So we have Ben's email address on there, so everyone can see that, and I'll repeat it again. It's Cruz B, C-R-U-Z B 800 at macomb.edu if you have questions about the automotive area or the vet area. And then I also just posted the contact information for admissions and outreach. If you need any additional help with your application or the admission steps, you can reach us. Again, our main line is 586-445-7999. You'll select option 4 and then option 1 if you want to get directly to admissions and outreach. And then you can also email us at admissions@macomb.edu. So again, if you do have any questions later on, you can send questions over to us in admissions. You can send questions to Ben. We will be able to answer them later on. But I know, like me, whenever I'm in a presentation or in an important session and they're like, anyone have any questions? I always end up forgetting what the questions are that I have right until the end. And then once it ends, then I'm like, oh wait, here are my 100 questions that I have. So, but we did get a lot of really great questions in here. Thank you so much for participating in this event. Thank you for asking such great questions too. We are thrilled. I was thrilled to see so many questions come in. So we do appreciate that. Do you have anything else you want to close with, Ben?
I just want to say thank you for attending, and thank you for all the members of the panel here that spoke very nicely about the program and what it is they do. That's great. We certainly hope that we get some recruits into the program, into Roush and also Macomb, obviously. My goal is to get as many as I can in the program. We do have you know, some opportunities out there for individuals that have an interest in the automotive industry.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for attending. Thank you to our speakers to tell us a little bit more about this program and about Roush as well. And we have nothing else to share. So if you guys have asked all of your questions, you are free to leave the session.